What's going on, guys? Kevin the Tech Ninja here, and today we're going to talk about the S23 Plus in my review. Now, I'm not going to try to talk about the Ultra, but there are some direct comparisons when it comes to pricing, and we definitely need to talk about that. Now, this is kind of an extended review as I've been using this phone for a little bit now, pretty much since it came out. I'm not going to talk about specs too much, just talk about real world usage. So this is Samsung's flagship series of phones, and it's in between the Ultra and the regular S23. It costs $849 for 256 gigabytes of storage and 8 gigabytes of RAM. Just like other phones, I feel like the Plus or the non-Pro is the best choice for most people. You know, it gives you a lot of the same great features as found in the Pro or Ultra version of phones, but then you compare it to what Apple gives you with the iPhone 14 Plus, is not even a close comparison. So for value, this might be Samsung's best flagship phone. If you have larger hands, the S23 Plus feels like it belongs in there. It has some weight to it, and it doesn't feel cheap at all, but it's still light enough to hold easily. Now, the back is frosted, and the sides, they kind of have this metal railing to it. You know, typically I don't like metal rails, but what I like about it is that it doesn't get smudges on it. I've been using this thing for a long time, and it still looks really clear. So if you're a rebel and go caseless, that is something you will really enjoy. Also on the back of the phone, you do have the 3 lenses. You have the ultra wide, the 1x, and the 3x zoom. On the front, you have Samsung's awesome AMOLED display at 6.6 inches, which looks absolutely great in direct sunlight. It's also great in low light. It looks great everywhere. Now, one thing I like about Samsung's displays is the max brightness and then also the minimal brightness. And what I like about that is, let's say I'm in a movie theater or I'm somewhere where I don't want to draw a lot of attention, the brightness is so low that I can barely see it. And I think in those situations, it makes the most sense. Like putting my kid to sleep, sometimes I want to like watch a video or text some people, but if the screen is too bright, obviously my son will wake up, so I need to keep it really dim. You also have an always on display and an in-body display fingerprint scanner, which works really great. I've always loved Samsung's displays, and this one is no different. There isn't much more you can ask for when it comes to this display. Now, I feel pretty redundant talking about performance on modern day phones, just because they all run fine at this point. Now, I've ran some speed tests, and most phones end up in the same realm as far as speeds, which is nice to see. Now, this has the newest chip available, which is a Snapdragon chip made for Galaxy, the same one you find on the Ultra, so there won't be any difference there. I will say for gaming, the smaller screen can help users with smaller hands, but even for me, I found that I have more control over gaming like on Apex or PUBG since it's less surface I need to cover. However, I do find gaming on a bigger screen better just because you can see more, and I like using a controller too. Now, if you love multitasking, this phone can do it just fine, but the screen can get crowded pretty quickly and it leaves you with a lot of information and very little room to work with. But if you're doing a single app experience, I think the screen size is perfect for that. I have no problems at all with it. With software, Samsung has been doing a great job lately. Even with the older phones, I still am getting updates to the newest software, which is definitely nice to see. The One UI feels light and it runs through the OS without an issue at all. Now, we obviously do not have an S Pen on this phone, but we still have access to Microsoft Pro apps. And if you're using a PC, you get a lot of those things that you get with iOS, like copy and pasting, continuation between apps, and more. Now, I've played around with it a bit, but it still does not feel fluid as it does when you're doing on the Apple ecosystem. I do, however, think DeX is underused and it's something you should check out if you're near a PC. What I like about DeX is that you can just plug it into a computer and then you can access everything from your phone right on your computer. So your contacts, your text messages, apps, reading emails, all those things. But just a couple months ago, it stopped working for Mac OS and they no longer support it. So if you're on a MacBook, you can't use DeX, which is a bummer. This feature is so great, they just don't talk about it a lot, and I think it is a game changer for a lot of people. Now, let's talk about cameras. There are 3 on the back of this phone, and this new camera is awesome. One new emphasis is night photos. They call it nightography, which is night photography, but I do like it. So on static image, you get a clean shot. Here is a shot with the wide angle lens, very clean shot, and usually wide angle lenses don't look as good, but you can see even punching in this 12 megapixel image, there's plenty of details. In the daytime, just like most other cameras, you get a nice detailed image, which with punchy colors that looks great for social media. It's not super realistic at times, and I think that's okay. And then on this shot, you see some boosted highlights on these railroad houses down in Tribeca. Still, these images look great. I would take them any day of the week, and they're not bad at all. Of course, you can do a raw photo and then manipulate it and make it look perfect, but ain't nobody doing that on a cell phone. Now, when taking pictures of people, the camera does a great job as well. Pictures of myself or my son in the park, I love these images. In having the flexibility of a 3x zoom and no distortion at all, and I can get closer to the action, that's really good. Samsung also put a ton of effort into video mode as well, giving you a nice even image and even a pro video mode, if that's something you want to dive into. Director's Cut is a feature that not a lot of people use, but it allows you to shoot video on the front and back at the exact same time and change the lens at the same time too, just by tapping on which lens you want to use. And it gives you one video file that has all those things happening, and you can kind of switch cameras, and it feels like you have more than one camera on that shot, which is definitely cool. Are these the best pictures around? No. I still like the Pixel a little bit better when it comes to pictures, but when talking about a complete camera package, including video and focal lengths, this has to be the best camera you can find under $1,000. Now, moving right along, this is a 4,700 milliamp battery, which is only 300 milliamps under the Ultra, which is awesome to see. And the S22 Plus battery was only 4,500. So Samsung was able to squeeze in even more juice to this phone, and it definitely pays off. I'm getting the same battery as I was getting on the Ultra. So for my usage, 7 a.m. to 10 p.m., text, web, gaming, phone calls with around 7 hours of screen on time. That is some battery life I love to see, and especially not having a very large phone. Your miles definitely may vary, but for me, that is better battery life than what I'm getting out of my iPhone 14 Pro Max at this time. It also allows up to 45 watts wire charging, which doesn't come in the box, but this will get you from 0 to around 55% in 30 minutes. Now, one weird thing I did test is that I have a 25 watt charger too, and I got the same charging speeds. I don't know. If you're interested in fast chargers, I'll link a few down below that won't break the bank. Now look, for this price, this is the best flagship phone I've reviewed. There isn't a feature that is missing or lacking, and for the price for just $850, that is pretty much a steal. Now, obviously, there are a lot of other phones in the market right now for around that price, so let me know if you want me to compare it to something else. Let me know down below. I would love to know what comparisons you want to see. Anyways, guys, Kevin the Tech Ninja here. Have a wonderful day, and we'll talk later. Peace.